Hi, this is Sky Garibay, and today we're going to talk about Dungeons & Dragons, and we're going to talk about my Dungeons & Dragons Forgotten Realms campaign that uses the Crown and Skull rules, Arbor Adventure, and we're continuing the story in Session 2, and at this point, the Empath Assassin, he has come to Phandalin, the city between Neverwinter and Waterdeep, in order to find his brother. His brother went missing about 2 months ago, and he found this out. Now, what's really interesting is the Empath Assassin is pursued. He has two flaws, right? He is the flaws are he's employed. So he's actually employed as an assassin, okay? And he is currently employed as an assassin by the Zentarum. And so the Zentarum are a specific faction. Of course, you know, the Zentarum is pretty dark, so they actually contract for assassin work, right? And this incredibly deadly dagger that the Empath Assassin has is really what makes him an assassin. If he strikes you with this blade, there's a very good chance you're going to die, right? It has, and so let's talk about this this blade right now. So this blade now has a name, and it is THOV, the Hate of Vecna. So THOV, the Hate of Vecna. So this cursed blade is associated to Vecna and is rumored to have power that comes from Vecna himself, right? Now, where are we in Vecna's timeline, right? Well, Vecna is currently the Vecna Eve of Ruin has fully happened, right? So at this point, Vecna has been exiled to O-Earth with the Chime of Exile, right? And he's not powerful enough to leave that world, right? So, but his, the rumors of Vecna are still strong on every realm, right? Because he was just defeated, right? So, and this blade was made when he was quite strong and was imbued with some of his power from that time, right? So this cursed blade, it's, and actually you could, so this cursed blade is, it's a dark blade. It's like dark purple. It's a shard. It's specifically a shard from what clearly appears to be a much larger gem, right? Very fascinating. And this blade within Crown and Skull, and this is the thing that's really brilliant about Crown and Skull, is the crafting in Crown and Skull is very straightforward, very fast, right? You spend hero points and you can get what you need. Now, you do need to go to a place where, and I should say, it's not, you need to have the things that are necessary from a narrative perspective to make upgrades, right? But at character creation, you can dump a lot of points into a magic item, into a companion, right? And this is really not, you can't do this in Dungeons & Dragons. There's really, and I think that's really what I walked away with Crown and Skull, is this idea that you are in Crown and Skull. It's pretty incredible. You have this, when you create your character in Crown and Skull, you create exactly the concept you want. You don't, whereas I did realize this when I used Crown and Skull to extremely quickly build out this, this character with the Gold Dragon Master. Basically, in Dungeons & Dragons, you have a concept and you try to jam that concept into boxes. The boxes they're like, oh, you have this species, you have this class, right? And what amazed me was just how, with Crown and Skull, this person was like, my main ability is empath. I have oratory. I have 3 primary skills: streetwise, oratory, and investigation, right? And one thing that's really amazing is the story is going very quickly because this player character, the Empath Assassin, and I'm expecting we're going to see his name in the 3rd session, right? And so basically you have this path, you know, they created this empath assassin. The main ability is the empath, but the assassin part comes from this incredibly deadly cursed dagger, right? And now we know why it's cursed. Its source of power comes from Vecna himself. And the blade is called THOV, the hate of Vecna, right? So we know why this thing is so powerful. We also know, oh, and let me tell you what its benefits are. So its benefits are, so a dagger in Crown and Skull is a D4, exactly like in Dungeons and Dragons, and it has an increased it has an increased die type. It goes from D4 to D6. It has an additional D6, right? So now you're rolling 2D6, right? And it has bleed, which means whatever damage you do on that first round, you roll a D4 and it does that same damage for 1D4 rounds, which is incredible. Like it's a wicked deadly dagger, right? And anyone holding it becomes an assassin, especially in Crown and Skull, because you do not miss, you simply hit, right? Like so this thing is wicked dangerous, right? Now what's the cursed part? Oh, and I'm sorry, there's one more benefit of this. It's chained, so the player character cannot lose this dagger. It's not going to get taken away. There is literally narrative protection for this dagger. It stays with them, right? And so basically what's really interesting about THOV, the hate of Vecna, is what is its curse? Well, so if you take a life with the blade, the next full moon that comes up, you roll for death against Vecna. So essentially, the power of Vecna himself, right, which he had previously, which has now been massively diminished, but the blade still works as though he were still full power, right? It works with the power that was imbued in it at the time. And, you know, as far as the relationship of the blade to Vecna, the player character will be able to continue to learn about that as the campaign goes on. But basically, if you take a life with the blade, the next full moon that happens, and you still have the blade, which is guaranteed because it's chained to him, right? Basically you roll 2d20 and you say two numbers. So you would say 17 and 3. If those, and then the die are in order, right? So you understand which die is which, right? So you would roll, and if you have hit a 17 and a 3, you die. The character holding the blade simply dies. You simply die. You're done. Thank you. Next, right? You finish. There's no roll. The blade, and what happens is your soul is sucked out of your mortal coil, right? Out of your physical body, and immediately goes to feed Vecna, right? And this causes your physical body to die because it doesn't have a soul. It just drops because it is quite literally dead. It doesn't go inert or anything like that. You simply, your player character dies and your soul has been claimed by Vecna, right? It's just the way it works, right? So every 30 days of game time, if he has taken a life with the blade, right, it will require this death roll. Okay. So that's the curse, right? And what are the numbers on this? Well, one of the reasons why I applied this is I already know the numbers. In order for this to happen, it's a 1 in 400 chance. So every 30 days, this blade is going to give a 1 in 400 chance that the player character is going to die, right? So this roll will come up, you know, the full moon will rise, and the Gold Dragon Master will say 4 and 6, or 19 and 1, or 20 and 20. You know, like he can choose any two numbers, but they are sequenced, and they have to come up in that sequence. And we have to be very careful about that. Like, it's very careful that we have to be very careful that we do use the sequencing, because if you don't use the sequencing and it can come up in any order, it's not 400 to 1. The odds are significantly greater, right? So it's significant. Like, and I do love this. I love rolls where literally the player character's life is in the balance, right? So that's this THOV, the Hate of Vecna blade, right? And it is I'm very excited about how this entire thing is working, how it's coming out. And by the way, the name, the Hate of Vecna, came directly from the Gold Dragon Master. And that's another thing I really like is this is changing in real time with a very engaged Dragon Master, a Dragon Master. And what's really interesting too is, of course, I love big 4 or 5 player games, and actually, optimum game is 5 players. But increasingly, it's extremely difficult to get 5 players at the table and keep scheduling, right? So one of the nice things is we've really been able to keep this campaign moving and get some momentum because it is one Dungeon Master and one Dragon Master. And I know scheduling is probably like the #1 problem people run into. So I'd really highly recommend checking this out and going down this road with one Dungeon Master, one Dragon Master. I wanted to present to you THOV so that you're aware of the dagger that really has made the Empath Assassin an assassin. So thank you for continuing to let me share this with you. Every single word you just heard is my humble opinion on the coolest parts of Arbor Adventure with this epic Gold Dragon Master. Please consider liking and subscribing, and have a fetch millennium.